So in the previous video, we saw the first part of the introduction to the diesel engine test, right? In this video, I will continue with the same and we will see the other parts of the engine.
Now that we have seen how to measure the power output of the engine, we will also see some other parts. See, the three experiments that I said that we will be doing on this diesel engine test rig. The first one is in the first experiment, we are measuring just the power output of the engine. Okay, it is known as load test. What are we doing in load test? In load test, we change the load on the engine and see how much amount of fuel is taken in by the engine. What is the fuel intake flow rate? Okay, what is the fuel flow rate? And we use the power output by changing the load, and we calculate the relationship between the fuel flow rate and the power output of the engine. Okay, I will explain it to you in some time. That is what is done in your first experiment. In the second experiment, we calculate the air fuel ratio of the engine. Okay. To calculate the air fuel ratio of the engine, it is very simple. I told you inside this setup there is an orifice meter. Using that orifice meter, we will find what is the intake air flow rate. We know what we can calculate what is the fuel flow rate. I will explain it to you in some time. And using the air flow rate and fuel flow rate, we can find out the air fuel ratio. And the third experiment, which is your heat balance sheet. It is the most difficult experiment because it contains a large amount of readings. Okay, but don't worry, it is not that difficult. First of all, you should know what basically a heat balance sheet is. So if you don't know it yet, please check this video out. Please check that video out of the heat balance sheet, so you have an understanding of what a heat balance sheet is. Basically, in a heat balance sheet, we are calculating where each and every quantity of heat produced in the engine is going. Okay, so what are the three main things where the heat energy is going? First of all, some amount of heat energy is converted into output power, right? What is the input energy into the engine? Input energy into the engine is the fuel that we are sending into the engine, right? That fuel is burnt, it produces heat energy. Some amount of heat energy is converted into mechanical work by the engine that we are measuring using the dynamometer. Second, some amount of heat energy is lost to exhaust gases. That is why I said this is a calorimeter, which is used to measure the amount of heat energy lost to exhaust gases. Third is the heat energy lost to coolant. This is the coolant flowing inside the engine. So we also have to measure what is the quantity of heat lost to coolant. So to measure this, if you remember correctly, if we have to find what is the amount of heat lost to coolant, what will be the formula that we will be using? Q is equal to mc delta T. Okay, what is the amount of heat lost to the coolant? Q is equal to mc delta T, where m is what? M is the mass flow rate of the coolant, C is the specific heat capacity of the coolant, and delta T is the change in temperature of the coolant. Okay, that will be the amount of heat absorbed by the coolant. So to find out the mass flow rate of the coolant, we have over here rotameters. Okay, see over here these are two rotameters. What is a rotameter? A rotameter is nothing but a device which is used to measure flow rate. Okay, it is used to measure the flow rate of the water. In over here, see, you can see two rotameters, right? There is a rotameter on the left side which is called rotameter engine, and a rotameter on the right side which is called rotameter calorimeter. Okay, so what is happening? See, we have this coolant water. See, I will just show you. Over here we have the pump. Okay, this is a simple pump which you can also see in many applications. You might have also seen in your house, in your buildings and other things. Okay, this pump is pumping the cooling water. Okay, that is a normal water, our normal water. It is coming in from this pipe. Okay, this pipe, right? See over here, this pipe, and it is going into the setup. Okay, see over here. Now if you look at this carefully, see that is divided into two parts. One is a metal pipe and one is a rubber pipe, right? Both on these, see the metal pipe, one is going to your right side, right? This is going to your right side over here, See, this is this pipe. Okay, this is also coming over here, right? This is water inlet into the dynamometer. This is water inlet into the dynamometer. So the coolant water which is coming in, see, the coolant water came in, the coolant water came in, this coolant water is going through this pipe and into the dynamometer. Why are we sending some amount of coolant water into the dynamometer? Because we have to cool down the dynamometer as well. Okay, when we are doing testing on the engine, the dynamometer also gets hot. Hence we have to cool down the dynamometer also. That is why this coolant is going into the dynamometer from over here, and then it is coming out. See, this is the coolant coming out and it is going into the drain. Okay, and we are not measuring the flow rate of this because we are not interested in how much heat is generated by the dynamometer. See, dynamometer is generating heat, let it generate heat. We are only interested in the output of the engine. So we are not interested in how much coolant is required in the dynamometer. We can calculate that also. There is a flow rate measurement device over here also, flow meter, but we are not using that. Okay, sorry, this is a pressure measurement device, but using this we can find out the flow rate, but we are not interested in finding it out right now. Okay, what are the two flow rates that we are interested in finding out? The flow rate of coolant through the engine and the flow rate of coolant through your calorimeter. First of all, let us see what is the flow rate of coolant through your engine. See, one of these pipes, this is your coolant pipe. See, this rubber pipe is going into this. This rubber pipe is going into this. Another rubber pipe is going into this. Okay, by opening and closing this, we can control the amount of coolant going into the engine. By opening and closing this, we can control the amount of coolant going into the calorimeter. Okay, so water comes from here inside, goes through this rotameter. In this rotameter, we are calculating the volume flow rate of the coolant. Then this water, see, through the rotameter, up this pipe over here, and through this pipe, it is going into your, from over here. See, this is the pipe which came, okay, from that coolant. Okay, this is the coolant pipe. It has come over here, and from here it is going into the engine. Thus, through that rotameter, the one which is currently on our right hand side, through that rotameter we are controlling the amount of coolant going into the engine. And the second rotameter that you see over there, that second rotameter is used to control the amount of coolant going into the calorimeter. Okay, see, this pipe, it is going from here into this calorimeter. Okay, so that is what is happening. So we are sending water into the engine and we are sending water into the calorimeter. So for measurement of the amount of heat energy absorbed by the coolant, Q is equal to mc delta T, we have found out mass flow rate of fuel. Okay, we know the volume flow rate of fuel from the rotameter, and if we multiply it by density, we will get the mass flow rate. Okay, so that is how we will get the mass flow rate of the coolant. What is the specific heat capacity of coolant? The coolant is water. We know the specific heat capacity of water, 4.18 into 10 raised to 3 joule per kg Kelvin. Okay, so that is the specific heat capacity of water. And what is delta T? Delta T is the change in temperature of the coolant. So we have to measure the temperature of the coolant before it goes into the engine and after it comes out of the engine. Okay, so to do that we are using temperature sensors. See, here there is a temperature sensor. This is your temperature sensor. Okay, this is an RTD. Okay, this is used to measure the temperature of the coolant water in, right? This is where the coolant water is coming in from, right? So here we measure the temperature of the coolant water. This is the temperature of coolant water before it is going into the engine. Now the coolant water goes into the engine, it becomes hot, and afterwards this is from where the coolant water is coming out, right? This is from where the coolant water is coming out. See, we have put a temperature sensor over here also. This is measuring the outlet temperature of the coolant. So this is your T2, this is the outlet temperature of the coolant, and over there we are measuring the inlet temperature of the coolant. We know the mass flow rate of the coolant from the rotameter, we know the specific heat capacity, and T2 minus T1 will give us delta T. This is how we will measure the heat absorbed by the coolant. Okay. Now when we have to measure the heat absorbed by the exhaust gases, we can use a similar logic. Heat absorbed by exhaust gases will also be mc delta T. But the problem is, we know the mass flow rate of exhaust gases. How can we know the mass flow rate of exhaust gases? What is exhaust made up of? Exhaust is made up of fuel and your air. When the fuel burns inside the engine with the air, it produces exhaust gases. So mass flow rate of exhaust gases is what? Mass flow rate of exhaust gases is mass flow rate of fuel plus mass flow rate of air. Okay, so we can calculate the mass flow rate of exhaust gases by calculating the mass flow rate of fuel and mass flow rate of air. How can we calculate the delta T, change in temperature? Well, that is also possible. See what is happening over here. Here we have our exhaust gases. See, this is our exhaust gases, right? Exhaust pipe. We have connected a temperature sensor over here also. Okay, using this temperature sensor, what are we going to do? We are going to find out the exhaust temperature, exhaust gases temperature, right? What is the temperature of the exhaust gases? Now what will be the heat absorbed by the exhaust gases? mc delta T, where what will be delta T? It will be the exhaust gas temperature minus room temperature. Why room temperature? Because initially what is exhaust gas made up of? Exhaust gas is made up of fuel and exhaust gas is made up of air. Fuel plus air will give you exhaust gases. What is the temperature of the air initially? Initially what is the temperature of air? It is atmospheric temperature only, na? So the amount of heat energy absorbed by exhaust gases Q is mc delta T, where mass flow rate of air is what? Mass flow rate of fuel plus mass flow rate of air will give you mass flow rate of exhaust gases. Delta T is what? Temperature, outlet temperature of exhaust gases minus atmospheric air temperature, our room temperature. We know M, we know delta T, but we don't know C. The specific heat capacity of exhaust gases changes under different conditions. That is why we use this calorimeter. Calorimeter in this case, in our experiment, we are using the calorimeter to determine the specific heat capacity of the exhaust gases. I will repeat, in this experiment, we are using the calorimeter to determine the specific heat capacity of the exhaust gases. So how does this calorimeter work? See, what is happening in this calorimeter? See, over here, this is our exhaust gases. We are measuring the temperature of exhaust gases over here. Then we are passing this exhaust gases through this calorimeter, and we are again measuring the temperature of exhaust gases over here. Okay, this is what is a calorimeter. Calorimeter is a type of heat exchanger. What is happening in this heat exchanger? The hot exhaust gases are cooling down, and the coolant which is flowing in this calorimeter, it is going to get heated up. Okay, what are we doing? The exhaust gases flowing through the calorimeter are going to get cooled down, and the water which is flowing around this calorimeter is going to get heated up. So what is happening? Exhaust gases are losing heat, and the coolant water which is flowing through the calorimeter is going to gain heat. And we know from our heat exchangers, from your heat transfer subject, that amount of heat lost by the hot thing is equal to amount of heat gained by the cold thing. So in our case, the amount of heat lost by the exhaust gases will be equal to the amount of heat gained by the water. We can find out the amount of heat gained by the water inside the calorimeter. How can we find out? Again, Q is equal to mc delta T. What is mass flow rate of water through the calorimeter? We can measure it from that rotameter, right? Mass flow rate of water through the calorimeter is known to us. Specific heat capacity of water 4.18 into 10 raised to 3 joule per kg Kelvin. What is delta T? How hot is the water getting inside the calorimeter? We can find out. Here we have one temperature sensor. This temperature sensor is measuring the temperature of water going into the calorimeter, right? From here it is just going into the rotameter and then into the calorimeter. So that is the water inlet temperature of calorimeter. And see over here, this is your water outlet temperature of calorimeter. This is another temperature sensor. What is happening? The water which is coming inside the calorimeter, it is getting heated up and the hot water is going through this pipe into the drain. So here we can measure the change in temperature of the water inside the calorimeter. So we know Q is equal to mc delta T. We can find out the amount of heat gained by the water. We can use this formula to find out the amount of heat lost by the exhaust gases. We know the mass flow rate of the exhaust gases. Again I repeat, mass flow rate of exhaust gases is mass flow rate of air plus mass flow rate of fuel. So we know the mass flow rate of exhaust gases. We can calculate the delta T of exhaust gases in calorimeter. In calorimeter, the delta T of exhaust gases is what? This temperature minus this temperature, right? See, there are two temperature sensors over here. This is measuring the outlet water temperature, calorimeter outlet water temperature. This is measuring the calorimeter outlet exhaust gas temperature. Okay, this is calorimeter inlet exhaust gas temperature and this is calorimeter exhaust gas outlet temperature. Okay, the difference between these temperatures will be your delta T. This and this will be the amount of heat lost by the exhaust gases. Okay, so Q is equal to mc delta T. We know Q. How do we know Q? Because we calculated the heat absorbed by the cooling water. Hence we know Q. We know mass flow rate of exhaust gases. We know delta T of exhaust gases inside the calorimeter. By using this we can find out the specific heat capacity of the exhaust gases. Then we can substitute the specific heat capacity of the exhaust gases in the formula Q is equal to mc delta T and find out the amount of heat absorbed by the exhaust gases. Okay, so this is how this setup works. So this setup entire from here to here, this calorimeter is used to determine the specific heat capacity of the exhaust gases. Those two rotameters over there, they are used to determine the mass flow rate of the coolant. The coolant is flowing inside two things. It is flowing inside the engine and it is flowing inside the calorimeter. Okay. So using this, we can determine the heat, we can create the heat balance sheet of the engine. Okay, so I hope you have understood these parts. So this is your engine. I explained how the dynamometer works, how we measure the power output of the engine. I explained how air goes inside the engine, how fuel goes inside the engine, how coolant goes inside and out of the engine. Okay, now we will see this setup. First we will see the outside of the setup, then I will show you the inside of the setup also. Okay, first of all let us see the details of our engine. Okay, see, as I told you, this is a single cylinder 4-stroke engine, right? What is the fuel? HS diesel. Okay, HS stands for high speed. Okay, it is high speed diesel. What is the rated power? What is the maximum power that the engine can produce? It is 5.2 kilowatt. Okay, what is that? That is the brake power of the engine. Okay, rated power means brake power of the engine. The brake power of the engine is 5.2 kilowatt at what speed? 1500 RPM. Then they have given us the dimensions of the engine cylinder. Okay, what are the dimensions of the engine cylinder? They have given us the bore, which is cylinder diameter 87.5 mm, and they have given us the stroke. What is the stroke? 110 mm. So using these two things, you can find out the swept volume of the engine, right? Using the formula pi by 4 d square into L, you can find the swept volume of the engine. They have given us the compression ratio. Now if you know the swept volume and if you know the compression ratio, you can find out the clearance volume of the engine, right? You can also find out the clearance volume of the engine. They have given us the orifice diameter. What is the orifice diameter? I had told you, see, we have to measure the intake air quantity, right? We have to measure how much air is going inside the engine. To measure that how much air is going inside the engine, we are using an orifice meter. Okay, orifice meter is used to measure the flow rate of fluids. Air is also a fluid. So the orifice meter inside is used to measure the flow rate of the air, and that is the diameter of this orifice meter. Okay, I will show you the formula in some time. And they have given us the dynamometer arm length, which is used for the formula, which is used to find out the torque. Torque is what? Force into radial distance. We can measure the force using this load cell, and radial distance they have given us. Okay. Now see this. This is a simplified diagram of the entire setup. What are they showing in this setup? See, all the things that I explained over here are explained in this single diagram. See, over here, this is your engine, this is your dynamometer, right? What is happening over here? See, what is happening over here? See, this is your engine, here is F1, fuel is coming into the engine, right? Air is coming into the engine, here F2. F1 is what? F1 means fuel flow rate. Okay, we are measuring fuel flow rate. To measure fuel flow rate, we are using this thing. I will explain it in a minute. And to measure fuel flow rate F2, what are we using? We are using the orifice meter. Okay, so air and fuel are coming inside the engine. Combustion is taking place. Because of combustion, exhaust gases are produced. This red line is your exhaust gases. Okay, so these exhaust gases are coming out. This is your calorimeter. This is your calorimeter. See, over here we are measuring the inlet temperature of exhaust gases in the calorimeter. Okay, what is the inlet temperature of exhaust gases in the calorimeter? It is T5. Okay, where is this T5? See, this is your T5. Okay, this is your T5. Now it is going into the calorimeter. Some amount of heat is lost by the exhaust gases, that is measured with the temperature, change in temperature is measured T6. Where is your T6? This is your T6. Okay, exhaust gas outlet temperature from the calorimeter. Okay, that is your T6. What is this T4? Okay, before T4, let us see over here first. Okay, now what is happening? Okay, I will explain T4 first. T4 is what? T4 is the outlet temperature of water from the calorimeter. Water is going into the calorimeter. See over here, T1. T1 here, see, from here water inlet is starting. That is our pump. The pump over there which I showed you. That is over here. Okay, T1. What coolant water is coming in? It is going through F3 and F4. F3 is what? F3 is the rotameter which is calculating the flow rate of water into the engine. See, into the engine. And what is F4? F4 is calculating the flow rate of coolant water into the calorimeter. From here, the coolant water is going into the calorimeter. So T3 is what? T3 is the temperature of the coolant water which is going into the calorimeter. T3 is the temperature of the coolant water which is going into the calorimeter. Right? See, T1 will be same as T3. There is only a rotameter in between T1 and T3. So there will be very small difference between T1 and T3. Hence we assume that T1 is equal to T3. Okay, so T3 is the temperature going into the calorimeter and T4 is going out of the calorimeter. So what is your T4? This one is your T4. See, this above one is T4 and below one is T6. T6, T4. Okay, right. Then what is happening? This part is completed. See, this is your shaft which is connecting your crankshaft to your dynamometer. Dynamometer, it is what? We are getting RPM. N is what? Your RPM. That is why this is your RPM sensor. Okay. And what is WT? WT is the weight, which is this weight reading from this load cell. Okay. So you have to draw this diagram in your experimental write-up. Okay, I will tell this to you afterwards. Take a screenshot of this and draw this in your experimental write-up. Okay, so this is the entire setup explained in a small diagram. Additionally, they have also given us the valve timing diagram. See, you know the valve timing diagram. I told you there is valve overlap, there is late closing of inlet valve, there is early opening of exhaust valve, right? That is what they have shown over here. See, this is your intake. Okay, from here intake starts, but see, inlet valve is opening 4.5 degree before the intake starts, right? When is the intake valve closing? Intake valve is closing after the piston has reached the bottom dead center. How many? 35.5 degrees after BDC. Similarly, exhaust valve is opening before BDC, right? Exhaust valve should not open before BDC, but it is opening 35.5 degrees before BDC. Okay, and when is the exhaust valve closing? Exhaust valve is closing 4.5 degrees after TDC. So this part 1 to 4, this is your valve overlap. 1 to 4 is your valve overlap. This is early opening of exhaust valve, and this is late closing of intake valve. Okay, and they have told us that fuel injection starts before TDC. 23 degrees before TDC fuel injection starts. Okay, so this is where fuel injection takes place. Okay, so the last thing about this setup which I have to explain, see, what are these things? First of all, I have explained to you what this is. This gives us the load reading. Okay, I will turn this system on so you get a better understanding. Okay, see, I have turned on the system. Currently, see, the load is 0.0. Okay, almost 0.0 kg, right? See, now what I am going to do, see, I will apply some load over here with my hand. Okay, and look at the reading. See, I am removed the load, applying load, removed load, applying load. So this load cell is taking that reading. Okay, that is shown over here. What is this? This is your RPM. See, if we rotate the engine, there will be some RPM shown over here. Okay, today I am alone over here, hence I cannot show you. But when we will power up the engine, you can see RPM also. And what is this? See, this is used to measure all the temperatures. See, we have 6 different temperatures, T1 to T6, right? See, you can see over here, we have these different temperatures that we have to measure. So by turning this knob, we can measure temperature from T1, T2, T3, T4, T5, T6. It is still 8, but we have only 6 channels. This is a 8 channel switch, but we have only 6 channels. We are using the we are using this to measure the temperature. Okay, now what are these two things? Okay, first I will explain to you this fuel part. Okay, see, this is nothing but a graduated cylinder. Okay, this is nothing but a graduated cylinder. Inside this there is diesel. Now when we start the engine will start using up the diesel. So what do we do? See, here there is a tank setting and there is a measuring setting. When it is in tank setting, the diesel level remains constant. Okay, when it is in tank setting, it is connected to the tank which is inside this, hence the diesel level remains constant. As soon as I turn this to measuring, the engine is on, this fuel level will start going down, down, down. I can measure how much time it takes to use 10 ml of fuel. Let us say when I start the engine, it takes 1 minute to consume 10 ml of fuel from 4 to 14. Okay, it takes 1 minute. So what is the fuel flow rate? It is 10 ml per minute or 10 divided by 60 ml per second. That is how I can measure the fuel flow rate. What is this manometer? This manometer is a U-tube manometer. Now as I told you, there is an orifice meter inside this. That orifice meter is used to measure the airflow rate. You should know from your FM lessons that whenever we use an orifice meter, we have to use a U-tube manometer. The U-tube manometer is used to measure the pressure difference. Okay, see, currently it is almost similar. Okay, currently both the levels are almost similar. The slight difference is due to inherent errors, okay, inside the setup. But as soon as the setup is started, there will be some pressure difference between the two, and due to the pressure difference between the two, we can calculate the flow rate of air into the engine. So this is the setup from outside. I will show you a reading, but the problem is, as soon as I start the engine, the noise will be so much that I won't be able to speak anything. So I hope you have understood. See what is happening over here. Whenever we do the experiment, we convert it from tank to measuring. We measure the fuel flow rate. We take this reading, and then we take RPM reading, we take load reading, we take the different temperature readings, and based on all these readings, we carry out our calculations. Okay. So this completes my explanation of this entire, oh sorry, I forgot this part. Okay, see, this is the main power supply. This turns on the entire system, and this is the dynamometer loading unit. By rotating this, I can control how much load is on the dynamometer. Okay, completely counterclockwise is 0 kg, and by increasing it, I can increase the load which is applied by the dynamometer. Okay, so this is the last thing. So hopefully you have understood this entire setup. I will show you how to take one reading, complete one reading, and then we will see this working of this engine. Okay, thank you. So the last part of the engine is what I want to explain to you is these two parts. See, first is this part and second is this one. Okay, so basically what this is a cranking shaft. Okay, what do you mean by cranking shaft? See, any IC engine, especially reciprocating IC engines, are not self-starting engines, in which I mean that they have to be first rotated. The crankshaft should be first rotated. Once it is rotated, it will start moving. Once the cycles start, then the engine can start. In your bike, what do? You use your kick. Right? We kick the starter and then the engine starts. In your car, there is a special starter motor which is used to start the engine. But in our case, we have to use hand cranking. So what does hand cranking mean? Hand cranking means we use this. Okay? We attach this over here and we rotate it. Okay? See, we attach this like this. Okay, see, this is how it is attached, and then this is rotated. Okay, then I will rotate this, and because of that, see, the crankshaft is rotating. Okay, see, so when I am rotating this, the crankshaft is also rotating, right? So this is your cranking. So I am hand cranking it. I am cranking it by hand. Cranking means starting the engine. Okay. So this is known as hand cranking of the engine, right? So what happens? See, so this is the function of that. And what is the function of this lever? See, initially when this lever is in upright position, what we are doing, see, inside there is your inlet valve and exhaust valve, right? So how is the inlet valve and exhaust valve controlled? The opening and closing of the inlet valve and exhaust valve is controlled using your camshaft, right? So what we are doing over here, when we put this in vertical position, what we are doing, we are telling that the exhaust valve should remain open constantly. When this lever is in upright position, in this position, it means that the exhaust valve is continuously open. Because the exhaust valve is open, that is why I can crank this engine. Okay? I can crank this engine because the exhaust valve is open. Whatever air is coming inside the engine, it is easily able to escape. Now imagine, in this condition, if the exhaust valve is open, there is no compression happening inside the engine. If there is no compression happening inside the engine, then there will be no combustion. And because there is no combustion inside the engine, power is not produced. But as soon as I turn it off, as soon as I turn it down, now see, when I try to crank it, see, it is coming back. See, I am trying to crank it, it is coming back up. See, I am not pushing it up. See, it is coming back up. Now if I put it vertical and I push it down, it will rotate. But if I put this down and if I see, it comes back up. Right? Why is this happening? Because when this is in down position, the exhaust valve is operational, which means that the exhaust valve can open and close as required. So when the exhaust valve is closed, this is what? This is your compression. This is compression. But because the exhaust valve is closed, I am not able to increase my force more than the pressure which is inside the combustion chamber. Okay? And that is why it gets stuck. If I apply enough force, I can rotate this. Okay? If I apply enough force, I can rotate this. Currently I can't. Okay? But you can if you apply enough force more than the pressure inside the engine. But when it is in vertical position, you can easily do this. Okay? So whenever you want to start the engine, what you have to do? You have to first rotate this crankshaft, and then when the crankshaft is at a sufficient speed, you just put this down. So the system starts working.